who had a vascular event last night. We don't know what that means. Either a
Oh,
stroke or a heart attack. We got that. We got West Virginia in action. We got a lot of good stuff. Brad, Matt, and Dave, how are you?
Hello, boys. Doing well. Great to be with you again. Thanks for having me.
Well,
boy,
thank
you
you for
look
coming on.
great. Look at that hat.
Let's see, it's a
I'm
hat show. You guys wear hats on the show. I
We
broke
do.
a hat out, right? And
Beautiful.
this is also relevant. You probably saw this week. The Titans are going to wear the throwback Oilers for one game this year.
And
So
everyone's pissed in Nashville, and I can't figure out why.
I don't know.
why
Wear it.
why are they pissed? Why
Bec-
that those are the best uniforms in the history of the NFL. What are you talking about?
I'm not debating it. They just think it's a disrespect to Nashville that they're going back. It's like the ex-girlfriend. You're wearing a gift from the ex-girlfriend.
B How, don't you really think the Oilers stuff is some of the best of all time?
It's phenomenal.
Elite. Elite.
It's phenomenal. Earl
Elite.
Campbell, it's phenomenal.
Goodness
Agree.
gracious.
I don't
Dan
understand it.
Pastorini, Bum Phillips,
Yeah, it's good. It's great.
love
Now,
you blue. Come on.
Texans haven't been all that great, but the Oilers are phenomenal. All right, so Bill Self is not going to coach against West Virginia today. He's not going to coach, I don't think, this entire tournament by what it sounds like. He's still in the
Ooh.
hospital in Kansas. Does this impact anything for you with KU?
Well, it's a great question. It's obviously the first question, and you certainly hope Bill Self is all right. You're right. That first rumor that came out that it was a heart issue seems to have some credence there as he continues to be in the hospital, as you just mentioned right there. So first and foremost, certainly thinking of Bill Self, who's great friends with Bob Huggins, has been here and done a bunch of stuff with Hugs before in this community. So certainly thinking of Bill Self, obviously. You know, Matt, I don't know that it does, and I know that's maybe ridiculous to say given he's a Hall of Fame coach, but you've got Norm Roberts on the sideline who's been a head coach before. At this point in the season, the teams know each other. Never mind, Kansas knows what it's doing. It already knows the scouting report against West Virginia. Adjustments that have been made in the first two games are still pretty fresh in the minds, I would think, of these Kansas players because these teams just played a week ago. You saw the line reflect that. It was 4.5, and it was still up as that rumor went out. As soon as Kansas confirmed that rumor, they pulled it off the board. It went back up at 4. You can tell me
Yep.
if it's still current.
Still 4.
Yes,
Yep.
that tells you it's only a half a point difference there. So, Matt, I don't know that it makes a big difference, as weird as that may be to say.
B How, the Big 12 has been, I mean, we've talked about it, on 8 in the Box. We've talked about it off the air. You're talking about it every day on, WV Metro News and everywhere else. You're doing stuff. It's the best conference in basketball. At least that's what the power ratings say and all these things. Does West Virginia have to win today to get in, or are they in? And how many teams do you think are going to get in from the Big 12?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I'm certainly biased because it's my day to day to follow this league and be on it. Here's why I think it's the best league, and I think what remains to be seen is how good the very top edge is. Kansas is probably going to be a number one seed.
Yeah.
How good is this Kansas team? We'll get into that in a minute. There's some flaws here. So, is it the elite of the elite? I don't know. I think where it's not really debatable is 1 through 10. This is a hard league to beat. There aren't other leagues because a lot of it because of the size that have the depth at the very bottom of the league. Almost
Mhm.
every other league in the country, you can get some easy automatic wins down at the very bottom. And I used to be when I worked in the athletic department, we were in the Big East for a number of years. And that was a great basketball league as well. But you always knew there were a couple wins in there and you knew those were baked in. And there's just simply not in this league. And I know the example everybody uses, and it's a good one. You saw Oklahoma finish last in this league. You
Yeah.
saw them get beat last night. They really struggled down the stretch. They absolutely waxed Alabama earlier this year. And I
Mhm.
think that's really exhibit A, B, and C of how good this league is. But I think it's the best because of the depth. You get down into 8, 9, and 10, and it's still a really good league.
So would you take 4.5? FanDuel's at 4.5 right now for West
Oh,
Virginia against KU. Take the
Let's get
points?
into let's get into some of the points here because West
yeah.
Virginia, even though they're 0-2 against this Kansas team, has been right there in these two games. If you look at some of the underlying metrics and the way those games played out, there was almost a luck factor there. West Virginia should probably have at least one of these, maybe two. So if I'm looking at numbers, Matt, yeah, I would take the number because the other part that we didn't mention about Bill Self that I should, and you hate to, I know this is uncomfortable when you talk about a serious health issue, and then we're going to relate it to sports betting, but that's what you guys do on this show. That's why you
Right.
have me on. So let's talk about it. The other part you don't know is how serious this is with Bill Self and what effect that may have on the players. They certainly have more
Mm.
information than we do. If this is a more serious issue, there could be an effect on these players not totally being into this game, which would be understandable. So that messes with everything I'm about to say. But let's just look at the numbers because we know that. This comes down to a couple things, guys, when West Virginia plays. First and foremost, for the Mountaineers, it's free throws. West Virginia is 18th nationally in free throw rate, and they make a lot of free throws. I'll get to that in a minute, too. They're playing a Kansas team who's 216 nationally in opponent free throw rate. So West Virginia has to get to the line. It gets 23% of its points from the line. It does well against teams that are going to put them on the line. Kansas's numbers tell you they will be fouling West Virginia and they'll get free throws. That's number one.
Okay.
And then let's go to point two. Here's what you got to parse out, Matt. Here's the numbers that matter. Kansas is not a great three-point shooting team, and they don't do it a lot. But against West Virginia, they do. They've made more threes against West Virginia than any other Big 12 opponent this year in the two games. They have made, and listen, everybody jokes, Hugs does this all the time. After games, he'll say, well, we didn't win because we didn't make shots. And everybody goes nuts and laughs and Hugs is saying they didn't make shots.
It's funny.
That's what this game is. Kansas has kept West Virginia from making shots, specifically Eric Stevenson. I'll talk about him in a minute. And they conversely have made shots. Grady Dick has been very good from the outside. DeJuan Harris was good in the second meeting. So there's two things. West Virginia has to get to the line. It has to free Stevenson up. If I'm watching this game early and I'm seeing Stevenson struggling to get open looks, I'm probably piling in live on Kansas on this one.
Are you saying what I think you're saying without saying? Over. It's over. We're hitting threes. We're getting to the free throw line. We're making foul shots. This sounds like you saying over when we talk, when we do all the things that we do and stuff together. I go, yeah, that sounds like you're leaning over in this basketball game.
What's the
No?
number now? 149?
149 and a half is pretty much the consensus, but starting to peak at 150s.
That's a big number, guys.
It
That's
is
a
a
big
big
number
number.
here. I mean,
Oh,
West
boy.
Virginia fouls a ton too. That's why you see West Virginia numbers up so high in these high 40s because they're going to put Kansas on the line a bunch. And listen, Kansas normally gets to the line a ton. They're not this year. They just are not this year. But again, against West Virginia, they do. I don't know, Dave. That pre-flop 150 seems kind of high. I'd prefer that to come down again live. If you can get some cold shooting from Kansas, maybe playing in this building for the first time this year, maybe you can jump in and get some numbers. Matt, same thing with Kansas live. West Virginia has the advantage of playing last night. If it comes out and hits a couple shots, you know Kansas is going to roar back. They're basically playing in front of a home crowd tonight.
Both games between West Virginia and Kansas went under. The game at West Virginia was 150 and a half. It went under by a half a point. The game in Lawrence went under at 146 and a half by 8.5 points. My only fear in what you're talking about is that free throws, teams do tend to foul when their year or their tournament run is going to be over. They tend to try to elongate the game as long as possible.
Saw it last night firsthand.
Right? They just
stop fouling.
The game's over. They foul. So there is always, I'm always leaning towards overs in conference tournament games simply for that reason. But if you don't hit the free throws early or hit the foul or have fouls early, then it's just fouls and no free throws to happen. And it's just kind of a weird ending to the game. So
correct.
I don't know. I lean towards the under, but I think you're right about the in-game to watch it and to see if you can get a lower number and then come in on the over. If you get like 140, 145, somewhere around there, and then go with the over, I'd feel more comfortable.
Agree.
But what do you make of Kansas in this tournament? If they beat West Virginia and they advance, I've been saying all year that, like, even though the one seed's the one seed, it doesn't feel like the one seed's going to win the Big 12 tournament. Is that fair?
Well, the way the season's gone and what we just said about the depth, yeah, it shouldn't do that. But again, it's Kansas playing close to home with a ton of fans there. I just think Texas is really good, and they've shown to be a bad matchup for Kansas. I think if you're putting me on the spot here without watching Kansas in this event yet, I probably lean towards Kansas in this, guys. I think they have.
So if I give you the field in Kansas, you're taking Kansas.
I'm sorry. Did I say I meant Texas? I lean Texas on this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Texas is probably due here. And again, you talk about a coach leaving, having no effect on a team. I think they have done a great job after losing Chris Beard, who's one of the best coaches in the country. They've just stepped right in and continued to play well. They're loaded with talent. I think I like Texas in this one.
How about Ole Miss, by the way, not giving a flying flip
Don't
about
care.
We don't care. We're going to hire a guy with a
Nope.
whole checkered pass for football. We're going to hire a guy with a whole checkered pass for basketball. Ole Miss just don't give a flip about anything. They're going to hire anybody.
No,
Don't
They
care.
don't care about anybody.
Don't care.
How we talked a lot earlier this week about the Big East tournament, and you spent a lot of time going to the Big East tournament as one of the athletic directors at West Virginia. Can you talk a little bit about like what that atmosphere is like? Because like Villanova's playing Creighton today. That's a big game. He's wearing the Creighton stuff. I
Yeah.
know we're going to talk about the Creighton game. Providence is playing UConn. Is there any home court advantage for schools and teams there and crowds? And give us a picture of what your experience at the Big East tournament at MSG was like and what we can expect today.
Yeah, it's awesome, guys. I miss it. I miss it tremendously. It's the number one thing I miss about West Virginia being in the Big East. There's nothing like the Garden. And the thing I always loved, the atmosphere and the intensity inside, not just because you've got, Matt, as you well know, the Northeast personalities in there where there's yipping and there's chirping and there's booing and there's swearing and there's just all kinds of chaos in the stands.
Sounds just
with
like the
each other.
Boston guys. Yeah, that's what all the Boston guys sound like, right?
It's awesome. And it's all the time. And people are standing in the Garden as you get into Friday and Saturday. It's the best.
Yeah.
And then I actually like that you could walk outside and there's millions of people that have no idea that the Big East tournament's
So
even
fun.
going on. It's the
Amen
most
to that.
unique setup in the world that you're living and breathing and dying with every second. And you walk outside and there's just thousands that go, what are you doing? I don't even know what you're doing. Get out of my way. I got to get a cab. Get out of the way.
What? Yeah,
get out of my way.
Yep,
I don't care what you're talking about.
100%.
So it's awesome.
It
Is there a home court advantage? Yeah, UConn will have a good one. I mean, when UConn's rolling, and I spent 2 years at UConn back in the Ray Allen days, the early Ray Allen days when we were kicking it pretty good there at UConn. It was a great home court there when UConn plays. So yeah, they'll have a good advantage today when they play. They'll be great. Matt, I keep waiting for your Creighton guys to get going here. I thought this was going to be a team that really mattered. Are they not? Are we done?
They matter,
with
but it's a horrible draw today. Nova's horrible for them. It's an awful second round. I'm so mad they're playing Nova today in the second round. Could be anybody else except Villanova in the second round for Creighton. It's just they aren't a tough
5-point favorites.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. I hope they win.
Well, hold on. Do I have to get Villanova here? I got a lot of action going now. Do I need Villanova?
I would take Villanova. I mean, I don't think the Jays are tough. It's a late game. I think Villanova's the side personally, but the Jays win. It'll be a tight win, but it's a bad draw. But hold on, before we get off the Big East.
Yeah.
So Jim Boeheim yesterday may or may not have resigned.
What the hell was that?
We don't really know. I mean, obviously Syracuse, Georgetown was when the Big East was to win the Big East. But we got a guy, I'm 45 years old. Jim Boeheim's been the coach of Syracuse longer than I've been alive, which is ridiculous. Wow. But what's your read on this? Because the university was the one who put out the release saying Jim Boeheim is no longer the coach of Syracuse. At the press conference, Boeheim said, I'll let you interpret what that means. I'm not the coach anymore. What the hell happened?
Yeah, it sometimes happens with these guys, Matt. They're just not. Just be clear, right? Just be clear on what is happening. The first press conference confusion is what forced Syracuse, in my opinion. Now, I don't know this. I haven't talked to anybody. No one's told me this. It seemed like it forced Syracuse to put their release out earlier than what they wanted to because of the way Boeheim stumbled. He didn't even stumble through. He meant to do that. He meant to be vague. He meant to play around. He meant to play cat and mouse. That's what he does. He could have been very clear and just said, thank you. I had a wonderful time. This university has meant everything to me. I am so thankful for all my players. All this. Can't wait for my next chapter. Can't wait to watch Syracuse's next chapter. This was my last game. Thank you. That's all he had to say. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
He didn't. And so I think that forced Syracuse's hands that they probably did not want to announce this while the ACC tournament is still going on. So I think it forced their hand to put it out early. You've seen now an announcement. They're going to do a Friday press conference officially announcing the new coach. I think Boeheim forced their hand into handling this to make it look way more disjointed than they probably wanted it to.
Was he fired, though? I mean, does Jim Boeheim want to walk away?
It didn't seem that way,
right?
Matt. It did not seem that way. And again, that's one of those where he didn't take responsibility. He clearly was putting it off on them being Syracuse and forcing Syracuse to have to say, we were the ones that decided there needed to be a change and moving on. But I'm also, listen, I've been around this. I've been around Hall of Famers when it's time to step down. For the most part, they're making that decision. They have to have a hand in saying that, or it becomes a total hostage situation. So as weird and as disjointed as this was, there had to be some level of Jim Boeheim that said, yeah, I agree. Now's the time.
So let's pivot to another
What's
tournament.
that? What's on your head there?
This would be a Pitt hat, sir. You know where I got it. I got it from one of the guys that watch the show and do all this other stuff. But I know you don't like Pitt. You never will. And they play Duke today. Somehow the line is only 5.
Mm-hmm.
And the ACC tournament is in Greensboro, which might be a home court advantage, might not be a home court advantage. Pitt's playing as well as they have in years. +5, Pitt, total 138.5. How does this game play out, B-How?
Now, let me ask you this real quick before I answer that.
Yes,
Now, is Pitt in the NCAA tournament yet? I know they almost won the ACC. Are they a bubble team? Are they in?
No.
Have they
Yes,
played their way in? What?
Yes.
But
They have.
no, they're not in. They got to
They're
win
in?
this game to get in.
They're in?
They're in.
No, I know they're in.
West Virginia's in.
West
Oh,
Virginia,
yes.
West Virginia
Whoa.
might be an 8 seed here.
An
They're
8
solidly. They're solidly in. Probably a
Yeah.
9,
Bias.
but they could be an 8.
They're
Solidly
in. Yeah.
Yeah, Duke wins tonight. Pitt's done.
Duke wins. Duke covers.
Yeah. Give me Duke.
I don't know.
I'm already on Duke. I'm with Matt on the Miami game. Tied those two together. Give me a 2-team
Nice.
money line parlay. I'm already on Duke.
Oh,
Let's go.
like
with it.
it.
Money line parlay.
Let's go.
All right.
Pitt's had a nice little run. Nice little run after losing by 25 to West Virginia to start the year. Nice little run for Pitt against not really any competition. Duke takes care of it tonight. Now, Farra, lose this video if Pitt wins. Lose this clip.
Don't have it. Before we let you go, best game of the day, the only game between 2 ranked teams is TCU and Kansas State in the Big 12.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is a really good game. It's late, so it's almost like while we're on Sports Grid, this game's going to be getting played. This is a late one. Who do you like in TCU, Kansas State?
That's a good question, Matt. This is mirror images of each other.
Right.
I haven't played the over yet, but you've got to look at there's going to be a lot of possessions. Both these teams want to get up and down the floor. The challenge with your over is K-State has turnover problems. So if they start chucking it all over, you've got problems, but there's going to be points. But again, I don't know what it is about the Big 12, but we've got weird off the court stuff here with Jamie Dixon and TCU and Lampkin, the center, alleging some things. So this is one of those questions. Addition by subtraction, was Lampkin causing issues inside the TCU locker room that now have cleared up a little bit with him out? Or is what he's alleging, which is some serious stuff, and Jamie Dixon's never had anything around him about player mistreatment in his whole career. So is this one of those that it's a distraction? I think I might lean K-State here, guys.
Really?
Speaking of distraction, is Texas Tech in the dance in your mind?
No.
They're going to be out?
They're out. They're not
Did
in.
what happened yesterday give the committee an excuse to leave them out? That their
No,
head coach stepped down?
I don't think they were in, Matt. They had lost 3 in a row before last night. They had played their way back on the bubble by winning 4 in a row, then lost 3 in a row. And I think the announcement of Mark Adams officially being out last night, that also illustrates they know there's no postseason. They're done. They're going to shut it down. Oklahoma State's the one to watch. Oklahoma State might be that last Big 12 that can sneak in there at the end.
I got a question for you from the brigade on the way out. This would be the last one for me.
Okay.
They pay attention to everything. They don't miss anything. They have our backs when we're down. They pump us up when we're up top and lift us to new heights where we're going.
Literally.
Who knows?
Literally lifting.
They're very lifting. They want to know, and I'm curious to know too, how do you think West Virginia is going to do against Penn State in football in September? I'm just wondering.
It's March 9th. What are we doing?
It's March 9th, but they
got plenty of time to break this game down.
West Virginia has to play Penn State this year. B-How's a West Virginia guy.
We should go.
Yeah, real quick, I'll give it fast to you. As you know, I'm nothing if I'm not honest on here. I'm a West Virginia homer. I cover them daily. I made my paycheck for 2 decades from them, but I'm nothing if not honest. Penn State should probably win a natty next year. If they don't, something has gone horribly wrong. They're probably the best team in America next year. They're loaded at every position. If they don't cover what should be a 3-touchdown spread against West Virginia, I mean, get rid of Franklin and everybody. You're paying him $10 million a year. He's got to be able to cover what should be a 3-touchdown spread.
See what he's doing? See what he's
Yep.
doing, Brigade? You ask him a question, he gives you an answer.
Or setting you up for a failure. One of the two. Howe, thank you for coming on, my friend. Best of luck on your bets today. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, guys. Always
Nice
a pleasure.
hat.
Brad Howe joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book.